Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fab Four podcast. And we've got a great guest on today. But first, let me introduce our Fab Four before we get to the Fab Five that's joining us. First of all, we've got Alec Williams, a 2018 graduate of Taylor County High School, a 2019 graduate of Taylor County High School, and Mr. Ben Bertram, who just recently announced his retirement from the Marina. And then we get all the way back to us old guys. We've got a 1985 Campbellsville Eagle, Scott, the Fat Frankie Franklin. And I hail from Adair County, a 1985 Indian from over in Adair County, Kentucky. Tonight we have one of the funniest guys you'll ever want to meet and be around. Great athlete back in the day and still is.
You already introduced me, Paul.
What?
You already introduced me. You're going over me again, aren't you?
No, I wasn't. But we'll get to you, Ben. So, without further ado, Coach Jeff Gumm, still the Taylor County High School baseball coach, former athletic director, former teacher. Coach, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. I'm in some tall cotton here with these world-class prognosticators. You know, I hear y'all all the time.
Oh, I tell you what, that's all Scott, man.
I'll try to hang in there with you boys and do the best I can with it.
I got you. Just before we get started, today's podcast brought to you by Hatcher Auto Sales. And give Danny Hatcher a call and Daniel Hatcher a call out on the old Lebanon Road if you need a rebuilt vehicle. And we certainly appreciate those guys sponsoring the Fab Four podcast. So, Coach, what we'll do tonight is we'll just kind of do a little round robin. We'll start with Alec, and then we'll go to Scott, and then Ben, and then back to me. So we'll just kind of throw some questions at you, and you just, however you want to answer them, man, you just have some fun tonight. So we'll get started, buddy.
Hey, Coach, talk about your playing days at Greene County and then going on to CU to play and then your coaching career. Just talk about that a little bit for people who don't know who you are.
How long is this podcast, Alex?
We can go on for as long as we need to.
Damn, Dudley.
Coming real quick, man. We'll get it out of the way. Hey, Greene County, you know, I graduated from Greene County High School in 1980. And, I feel very lucky and fortunate in my career down there that I played with some great coaches. Hall of Fame coaches, starting with Coach Deaton, who was my basketball coach. And believe it or not, he even taught me into running cross country a couple matches. And I played for my dad. It was a Hall of Fame baseball coach. I had some really good football coaches, and Kit Cubbin and Jerry Kyrd. I think I even ran track for Coach Deaton too. So, luckily, I guess I grew up in the day when we played everything. It's just what we did. If it's football season, we all played football. Basketball, we all played basketball. If it's baseball, we played baseball. And then if you happened to be able to run pretty fast, and Coach Deaton, when we didn't have a baseball game, he'd come get us and we'd run track. Just to played a lot of games. And like I said, I'm fortunate to have those guys as my coaches.
Scott?
Coach, I'm going to go straight to some important stuff. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
Let's forget all about this Taylor County, Campbellsville University, or Campbellsville College, excuse me. You're old like me, CC. Best Louisville football game you've ever attended?
Oh, man. Of course, I'm a season ticket holder and go to quite a few of them.
Absolutely.
I have to think it was maybe on a Thursday night. Me and Josh, my youngest son, went down there. It was one of the first blackouts. We were playing West Virginia, I believe it was. Yeah, it was West Virginia. And we were at the game, and it was a great crowd. Louisville was pretty good. I don't even know who was playing for Louisville. I just remember the atmosphere as the blackout. Everybody had on their black T-shirts. And, and we're winning the game. And then about the third or fourth quarter, one section of the lights go out. So it really was a blackout. And then when I remember we won the game, and here I am. I don't know. I was probably – I'm pretty old now, about 45, 50. We jumped over the rail, and we went down on the field celebrating the victory against West Virginia. That was one of them.
Cool.
I've been to a lot of them. I've been to some good ones, man.
Ben?
Yep.
So you've been coaching baseball for a while now. So can you talk to us a little bit about either your favorite or your most impressive players that you've coached, aside from myself, of course?
Hey, that's right. Hey, you know I love left-handed pitchers, Ben.
Yeah. You laugh a little too much there, though.
Golly, for me to name any one or two players, I just don't know that I could do that. I've had so many good players over the years, and I could probably name some teams because you were on probably one of my favorite teams, the regional championship team last year, and then we had a 2001 regional championship team. Obviously, though, I have a special relationship or special thoughts about all of my teams, but when you can win the region in baseball, that's really hard to do in our region. There's no classifications in baseball. I mean, you got to be like this year on your senior year. We had to beat Central Hardin and North Hardin. They both got 2,000 students, man. So they got 1,000 boys, where we got about maybe 450 if we're lucky to pick from. So anytime that you can win the region in baseball, that's pretty difficult.
Well, Coach, I want to talk to you just a little bit about your family. You had two boys. You had Josh and Jeffrey, and, of course, Jeffrey being the oldest one. And, quite the athletes back in their day, and they were very, very good players. I had the pleasure of coaching Jeff back in the day in middle school. What was it like coaching your kids as they came through the high school, and did you feel any extra pressure? Were you hard on those guys? How did all that go?
Well, I guess we'll go back to when I was playing in Greene County for my dad. Alex,
okay,
about that. Of course, my dad's different now than he was back when he's in his prime. Back in the 70s, when you're coaching, man, it was a whole lot different than it is in modern day with the sugar coat and everything's kind of calm now. But my basketball coach, Mr. Deaton, was really a calm guy. I've never heard him say a curse word ever since I've known him, and I know him since I was walking probably. But my dad now, when we got home from the games, basketball especially, dude, I sat down in the chair, he sat down in the chair, and we went over that game from head to toe. And it wasn't always pleasant, but I'll tell you, I loved and cherished those moments when I sat there with him and he was critiquing what I did wrong. And I think it was a learning experience. And then, of course, my brother wasn't really into that. When the game was over, he didn't want to fool with it. He didn't want to hear Dad and what he did wrong and how he could get better, this, that, and the other. He'd come home and go to bed. But for me, I sat down there and I just ate it up. And, it wasn't always pleasant, but I wouldn't trade that for anything. So when I started coaching my boys, obviously, it's a little bit of the same thing. And of course, when I coached my boys, it was different too. I mean, we didn't pull any punches. If you made a bad play, I'm pretty much telling you made a bad play. And it's not like today. And today, if you make a bad play, I have a tendency to go up and pat Ben on the back and say, "Come on, Ben, I know you can throw it right, man. You can do it." Okay, but back then it was like blankety blank, 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 blank on throw strike. So when I was coaching my boys, I think maybe looking back, I was probably too hard on them, but I don't know that I would change if I had to do it again, because it's hard being the coach when your son's playing, because everybody thinks they're getting this, they're getting that. But man, I was harder on my boys than anybody else, and I don't regret it. I don't guess.
And so if we ask them, what would you think they would say about playing for you?
Oh, they would say that I was probably an asshole a lot of times. And I tell you something good. Like when we just got through with the Duffers golf tournament, and every year when we go to that, there's people that come from other places. I see some of my football players from the past, and we'll be sitting down and having a drink, stuff like that, and I'll go back and say, man, I probably ought to just apologize for you back when you were playing for me and I was a young coach and I was really pretty hardcore and stuff like that. And you'd be surprised how many of them say, "Coach, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm glad you were like that. So you pushed us to be better, and I appreciate it." Yeah. So, it's perspective. As you get older, sometimes you have a tendency to like your coaches better. We're talking about in my college playing days for Coach Cunningham over at Campbellsville College. Hey, he was pretty hard, man. He would come in that dressing room and he would just tell you how it was. And, a lot of his favorite lines, hey, Gumm, he said, my grandmother could play better defense than you do. And, then he'd add a few things to it. But looking back, man, I love playing for Coach Cunningham. He let you do what you could do. If you could shoot, man, he let you shoot. If you could drive, he let you drive. All you had to do was play defense. And that was pretty much, you knew how it was. If you didn't play defense, he'd take you out. So,
yeah.
It was pretty good.
Alec?
Coach, you mentioned about playing in the Duffers this weekend. Give a little recap on your game this weekend because we all know you're a big member at the Campbellsville Country Club, Hall of Famer. Just talk about your time this weekend at the Duffers.
Well, I'll tell you what, Alec, I was telling Coach McQuarrie there before we come on here that I probably played as good as I could play this weekend. On my practice round, I shot a 67. On my first round, I shot a 70. On my last round, I shot a 75. So I played pretty good. Unfortunately, go ahead, Scotty.
No, I ain't got nothing to say, Coach. I'm just listening.
Unfortunately, my handicap is not high enough to win. A 20 handicapper won it, a 17 handicapper was second, a 15 handicapper was third. So I get 4 strokes, and it's hard to overcome that. But I'll say Coach Troy Young is on that committee and does the handicaps and keeps the scores, and it's based on past history. And there's nobody I trust more than him when it comes to doing math stuff. So it's probably fair. It's just a good time to get away, and you see a lot of people, like I was talking about my other players and stuff, and I enjoyed it. I tell you what, going up there on Friday, I never dreamed we'd play Fridays round, Saturdays round, and Sundays round because the weather was calling for just storms the whole weekend. We didn't get anything to keep us from playing.
Was it Kearney Hills? Is that right?
Yeah, it's Kearney Hills. Kearney Hills. It's a wide open course. I mean, you can hit it in a lot of different places and go find it and hit it again. And, that's kind of advantageous to a high handicapper. Instead of having water when you hit a bad shot or trees when you hit a bad shot. But it's fun, man. You go for the camaraderie and you go for the, just being around everybody. So I enjoyed it.
Mr. Franklin.
Coach, I understand about you. You're saying about the saying things, and now you talk those guys are older, man. Maybe I shouldn't have said that to you. I apologize. Let me tell you, Coach, the worst thing I ever did, and I'm not going to say what I said, but our buddy Brandy, he's a fine girl. Brandy,
I know him well. Yeah.
I probably said some of the worst things I've ever said to any human being on the face of the earth due to his blunder over at Wayne County one night. And he's one of the best players I ever had play football at Taylor County. But I had to put him in on defense for like one play because I thought he was smart and would listen to what I told him. And he did just the damned opposite.
Yeah.
And they scored a touchdown because of him. And I said things for about 30 minutes to him. So.
Yeah. Well, I had Brandon in history class, so you obviously didn't have him in class. He had to hit 400 to pass my history class. I'll tell you that.
Coach, my question for you is, I like cutting up and saying all kinds of crazy things, but I did text you about listening to Kentucky Sports Radio when they did the Greene County Day, and they really said some really quality things about you and your dad and your brother and talked about y'all's coaching and so forth. And I don't know if everybody listened to that, but if they didn't, they need to go back to it because not many people around here get some good publicity like that and have accomplished the thing that all you guys have. But one of the things that I was impressed with about your coaching, and I know you coached baseball for 100 years here, you did basketball for so long. Explain to me how you were able to come out of your basketball retirement for that 1 year and take a team that was kind of in turmoil and ended up having a dang good year. And maybe if the referees don't throw out our best player, Trayvon, we might win the dang region in that year. Explain that to us, how that went, and what you think about that.
Well, this is kind of, it ends up where I'm just doing a favor for a friend.
I've heard that before.
The story is kind of like we're playing golf out there one day on a Sunday, and the superintendent, my good buddy and golf partner, Charles Higdon, Junior Higdon, says, Coach, I'm gonna have to get a basketball coach here. Some things are going on, and I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to be late in the season, and so he just said, I said, well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Higdon, it's probably hard to find somebody right now, and if you can't find anybody, I'll fill in for. I'll do it for you. Just letting it die at that. Yeah, and then about Thursday that week, I'm retired. I'm sleeping in. I'm in no hurry to get up. I get a phone call. And it's Mr. Higdon. And he says, I tell you what, he said, Coach, you're not going to believe this, but I need you to coach basketball. And I'm like, really? And I said, well, I don't know, man. I said, I talked to my oldest son, and, he was like, I told him responsibility I might coach. And he was like, well, Dad, you probably coach these guys like you used to coach. I said, well, yeah, probably right. And my youngest son, Josh, Dad, they only won about 4 games last year, 5 games. I said, yeah. But anyway, I talked to my dad. I told Mr. Higdon I need to talk to my dad because, my dad, he's kind of my hero. He was the best man in my wedding. He's my role model. The reason I do what I do is because of him. And so I call him up. He's about 83 years old. And I said, Dad, we got a situation up here where my good buddy, the superintendent's called me and wants me to coach basketball. They need a coach. So I said, so what do you think? What do you think I ought to do? He says, well, here it's pretty simple, son. If the superintendent asks you to coach the team, then you need to coach the team. So I said, yes, sir. And I hung up. And of course, I'd already gone over to my wife, and she knows I'm a coach. We've been dating, been married for 30-some years. And so I told Mr. Higgins, I said, okay, I'll do it. And the next thing you know, we're over to the board office and working out all the details about keeping the assistant coaches. And they introduced me to the team that afternoon, 6th period. Maybe Coach McQuarrie may have even been there with us when we went in there to do that.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something pretty funny later on, after I get to know the players and everything like that. And Nick Nifley, who really had a great junior year for us, played really good, especially in the tournament plays at the end of the year. Later on, he's telling me, he says, Coach, that we had no idea they was going to hire you to be coach. When you walked in there with Mr. Higdon, I looked over at Trey and Kyber, and I said, wonder what the baseball coach is doing here. So then, it just kind of happened, dude. And I had, Turner was great, and Toddy was great, and we had some really good players, man. I mean, that's the secret to it. They had good players, and we didn't really overcoach them. We just let them do their thing. And the only thing we had to do was just teach them to pass a little bit. Some nights we were pretty good at that, and some nights we didn't pass very good.
Whoa. You were teaching them how to pass? That's an oxymoron in my book. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you, Bird. Bird must be punching you in the side, so I've never passed it.
Hell, I don't need Bird here. I was there. I was in the 8th grade when he was the senior. My gosh.
I like to say
his next assist will be his first one.
Hey, my dad told me at a young age, he said, son, listen, there's 2 things you need to know about basketball. The first one is you can't score if you don't shoot. And the second one is you don't need to get in foul trouble because you can't score on the bench. So that's kind of the way I played my career. Just like that.
Very good. All right, Benjamin.
One of the things that always amused me just watching baseball games was your love-hate relationship with the umpires. And I honestly feel like, that anyone in the ballpark respected you. If anyone did, it was the umpires more than anyone. And talk to us a little bit about your most interesting interaction with an umpire.
Oh, well, Ben, Ben, I can tell you a couple good stories on that. When I became AD about 10 years ago, I really got a whole lot better with the referees and the umpires because I saw them at the basketball games, and I would take them their checks, and they would sign their checks, and we sat there and shoot the bull. And of course, I knew them, and they knew me from coaching for so many years in the same place. And my relationship got a whole lot better. In fact, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I became the AD, I have not been thrown out of a game since I became AD. Okay. Now, there's some interesting stories about referees and baseball. I'll tell you a good one. When I was coaching basketball, and this goes back a ways, Coach McQuarrie and Coach Franklin remember this, Ben and Alec, y'all might, but in the old gym there at Taylor County, this is probably in the mid-'80s, early 90s, something like that. It's before we had any kind of innovation. They had those long, thin dressing rooms. I mean, they were just really bad. You remember, don't you, Paul and Frankie?
Oh, yeah.
So we're playing, and something happens, and it's like the first quarter, and I get on the referee, and he gives me a technical. Then I say something back, and he gives me another technical. And then that's the time you can get 3, and then the third one, I really deserved this. So I got 3 technicals, and they threw me out of the game. So I had to go to the locker room. And, you know, when you have to leave the court. So I go to the locker room, and all of a sudden I hear somebody coming in the locker room, and it's my youngest son, Josh, who was probably about 4 or 5. And he says, Daddy, he says, when you got thrown out, all those people started clapping. What's going on? So he thought, you know how the crowd gets fired up when you get technical fouls and stuff. So he thought they were happy that I got thrown out. Hey, and I didn't have the heart to tell him, yeah, Josh, no problem. Some of them probably are glad I got thrown out. So that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, tell him about the one at baseball when Josh brought his girlfriend, Maddie, at the time.
Well, so Josh, you know, he's married this girl now, Maddie from Chicago. She's a sweetheart. In fact, she works for the school and does a good job with it. But I had only met her maybe one other time. It was at a concert. I forget who it was, maybe a Darius Rucker concert or something like that. So, or this may have been before that concert. We're over at Pulaski County, and it's the first game she's ever been to. And she's sitting up in the stands beside my wife and Josh. And, you know, we don't know her really well. But anyway, we're over there. And you know how it is over Pulaski, man. They cheat you bad over there. So we're going to ready to win this game. And all of a sudden, one of our players gets hit, and we're going to walk in to win and run. And the umpire calls our batter out. He stepped over the plate on a hit by pitch. And, of course, I always try to defend my players when they get hit by pitch because, you know, if they're willing to do it, then, you know, I'm going to give the umpire a little heck if they don't let them take their base. But anyway, I got thrown out. I was about, you know, had to leave. Rode home with my wife and my daughter-in-law, and that's something I never even said 2 words to her. Now she's all saw me mad, throwing my hat on the ground, kicking dirt at the umpire and all that stuff. So that's one of them, but there's been a lot of them that are pretty good on that.
Well, Coach, you like I say, you've been around a long time. You coached many great teams. What are some of the best kind of high school, college, and then coaching moments as far as, like, what are some of those big games that you remember either playing in at the high school and college level, and then the big games that you had as you coach, some of the more, you know, the more memorable games, either win or little losses? I mean, just
I could start in high school basketball. We were in the finals of the region, and I was at Greene, and we were playing Taylor County. It was over at Marion County, the same gym they have now. And we had already beaten County 3 times. And so, yeah, I just told you earlier, my dad had told me not to foul, but that's the only game I ever fouled out of in my whole life. It was a close game back and forth, and they got a breakaway layup to win the game, and I fouled the guy. I forget his name. But he made 1 out of 2 free throws, and it sent it into overtime. And here I am. I didn't get to play in the overtime. And we ended up getting beat. But, man, you talking about heartbreaking, not to get to go to Rupp Arena when we'd already beaten them 3 times and then lose that game in the finals. That was crazy. In college, I tell you, one of the most games I ever had in college is that we won it. I think it was 1980, 81, no, 1979 and 80. When my freshman year at Campbellsville University, we won the first time they ever went to the national tournament that year. And we had this guy named James Boulware. You may remember, hard, about 6'5", 6'6". I mean, just jump out of the gym. I mean, he's getting 15 rebounds and 20 points every game. But we go to the national tournament, and he doesn't get to play. He had pulled double growing muscles, and he couldn't even hardly walk. He did it somehow in a practice before we went. But we go out there, and we play Kearney State, and we get beat like 104-100 in that game. I mean, it's just an up and down, rip roaring, just a great game. But, of course, that's the way we played. I mean, we pressed full court, man to man, and we had this shot, we took it, and I remember that game because it was such a high-scoring game to get beat in. Talking about Lou Cunningham, this is one of my favorite stories on Coach Cunningham. I played for him for 4 years, and it was really great. But my freshman year when I went up there, we were playing some game or something like that, and we were out on a break. Somebody threw it to me, and I caught it, and I jacked up about a 20, 25-footer, whatever it was. You know, I thought I was open. And he said, he time out, takes me out of the game, come down there, and he says, go. He says, when you catch that ball, before you shoot it, you need to make sure that we got rebounders in position to rebound. And I'm like, And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, Coach, I got no intentions. It's never entered my mind that I'm going to miss it. I'm not worried about rebounders. I'm planning on making it. But that was just the difference in the college game, you know, than high school game. You had to think a little bit more on it.
Yeah. What about as far as the scoring list over there on the you know, what are you now? I mean, I know it's probably had some better players that's come in and scored a lot more points because of the 3-point line, but
at Campbellsville.
Yeah, Campbellsville. Where do you rank right now?
I think I'm about 11. My man Austin Burrs, who is my crack research guy. I mean, he can find anything. He's got me at number 11. He had me at one time about 3 or 4 when I graduated. You know, of course, we didn't have any. I've never played with a 3-point line.
Yeah.
And I shot a lot of jumpers, with being size and all. But yeah, that's just part of it. As the game progresses, you know, there's going to be others pass you up, and that's just part of it.
Yeah. All right. So finishing up that line of questioning, the coaching big games. What are some of the big games you remember coaching in, win or lose?
Okay. Hey, you know, it's amazing. I've said like 2 of them that I've lost in, so I'm gonna give you a couple that I won in here. It really sticks out in my mind in 2001 when we won our first regional tournament. That, you know, not just one game, but every single game we had to play North Hardin. At North Hardin, we beat them in extra innings. Then we had to play LaRue. You know, of course, anything about LaRue baseball, every minute is always loaded. We beat them in 9 innings. Then we had to play E-Town, and their pitcher, I think it was Bramlett we was talking the other day, was like 13-0, and we beat them in 9 innings. So we're playing it late at night. It's about the 8th inning, and all of a sudden the sprinklers come on at North Hardin baseball field. The game had lasted that long.
Yeah.
To be able to win that, and it was the school's first regional championship, and to be able to beat those teams, and it was just like the whole week. You know, for some reason, I just felt good about every time something happened that we would be able to come back and win the game. Yeah, and I can't leave out last year or 2 years ago, I guess it is now, when Ben and Grant and all those guys were seniors. You're talking about a special moment to be able to play the regional tournament on your own field and win it. And the way that we won it with a walk-off in the first game against Central Hardin. Yeah. And then we get almost 20 runs against Bethlehem. And then we come back against the North Hardin team that had won 32 or 33 games. And, of course, Grant hits that home run in the first inning to set the tone. And to have, you know, I'll never forget the people over there in the old Walmart parking lot sitting up there. You know, they're sitting on the outfield fence. They're sitting down every line that we have. Our stands are packed. And it was just great for our school and for our players and for our community. And I was glad to be a part of that.
Yeah. All right. Alec?
Hey, before I answer a question, Frank, can you believe that Jeff Gumm is 4th all-time in assists at Campbellsville University?
That's because Lou made him pass. You heard him say he's got to be an all-around player. He wasn't going to get to play if he didn't pass every once in a while. It's not because Coach Gumm couldn't pass. When he's in high school, he had to score. That's the way it is.
Yeah, my assists are accumulated over 4 years. I played every game in 4 years. You know, it just kind of spread out and get a few here every now and then. I didn't have anything against passing, man. You just had to be open for it. I was going to throw it to you. I need to throw it to you if you want open.
But anyway, of course, we've been talking about your year coaching basketball back in 2019. And there's a lot of funny memories then. Give us 1 or 2 of your funniest memories from that year of coaching basketball.
Well, it was kind of funny to start with the fact that I agreed to do it. But once we got into it, you know, I had to develop relationship with those players. And I knew them briefly because of being an athletic director. But then when I had to coach them, soon found out that, you know, we weren't really going to do a lot. We were just going to and what they had and try to keep it simple. And we had some good times, man. A lot of good players. Good players make for good times. Of course, I went in the district at Marion County. I've got this one picture, and Paul's probably got it for me. But I remember that toward the end of the game, I'd already taken Trayvon out because I didn't want to get another technical and get disqualified for playing. So over there on the bench, Grant gets a steal about mid-court and goes in to semi-dunk it or lay it up like that, and he's got a picture of the whole bench just standing up celebrating. That's a pretty special time for that group, and there was a lot of good times. I know Turner. I really had a good time with Coach Turner and Coach Polson. Turner was always just on edge. We weren't doing something right. We needed to do this better and this, that, and the other. And then, of course, Toddy was just always, it's all good. We'll take care of it and everything like that. But there's some funny guys on that team, but a lot of times, we didn't practice a whole lot because they had a history of just, really in their practices just being undisciplined and wanting to fight and, want to push and shove and get mad at each other. So I didn't even want to deal with that. So we kept our practices pretty short and moved on from there. Of course, Alec was around today. He saw it. He did all the stuff for me. Helped us out. So, yeah, it was good. That was the best basket. I remember one funny story there. So we're warming up at a pregame. We had like 6 or 7 people could dunk it. And, they were throwing it down pretty good. And golly, back when I coached in the 80s and 90s, we might have had 2 or 3 people that dunked it in the 9 years that I was there. So I remember I walking up to Turner, Toddy, and saying all these guys are dunking. I'm saying, so this is what it's like to coach basketball, huh? Not too bad. Not too bad.
Also, I remember talking to you on the sideline after one of the games. After I became the AD and you were coaching there, and everybody kind of lingered after the game, and I came up and congratulated you, and and I said something to them about I think I said something about practice. They're getting better and all that good stuff. And your quote was, and I'll never forget it: "These guys have really bought into not practicing much." I thought that was quite the line. I loved it. It was awesome.
You think I'm we were in there one day practicing, and I was just doing like a little 3. It's something I used to do all the time, 2 on 1, and we go down the floor, and somebody goes up and somebody hammers him, and he gets mad. Next time, somebody misses the shot, I go over there, and Nick's already got mad, done kicked the basketball all the way up to the top of the bleachers up there. So I said, Turner, blow the whistle. He blew the whistle. I said, practice is over, boys. We're done. They wasn't paying me to discipline and take care of. I ain't fooling with that. We're just trying to win some games, man.
Yeah, I got you. Ben? Ben?
First off, let me just say, favorite prop I've ever brought to a basketball game was my Jeff Gumm fathead cutout on a stick. I think our winning percentage when I brought that was over 800. It had to be. But my actual question is, you're a big Red Sox fan.
Yep.
Give us your 60-game prediction for the Red Sox, and if that involves the postseason, what do you think that's going to look like?
Well, I definitely. I've watched us play the last 2 or 3 nights. We're not very good. I don't think we'll win half the games. I definitely don't think we'll make the playoffs. And if they do tank it in baseball, this is a good year to do it because we're just not. Now, I've liked the Red Sox since about 1975. So I'm not going to go down. I mean, I liked them before they won those World Series, and I still like them today. And in fact, I love Fenway Park, and I love the atmosphere around the stadium. I'm more into the field, and the tradition, and the history of it than certain 1 or 2 players. But yeah, our pitchers are hurt, man. One of them COVID with heart issues, and the other one had Tommy John. And then we let Mookie Betts go because we couldn't afford him. I guess they wanted to downsize, but so yeah, we're without a lot of players. And I'll be honest, even though I hate the Yankees, I got to say the Yankees look pretty good right now.
Yeah.
So I don't feel good about our baseball season, Ben. You're a Reds fan, right?
Big Reds fan. Yep.
Now you feel good about your season, right? I've seen where a lot of people are predicting them to win it.
It was a trendy pick before the season started, but they lost. They dropped 2 to the Tigers, and I would say the Tigers are probably the worst team in the league. Dropped 2 out of 3 to them, and then 2 out of 3 to the Cubs, and then they lost another game to the Tigers. Went back to Detroit and played them, and at that point, it was looking like it was the old Cincinnati Reds, like same old, same old. Mm-hmm. Played a doubleheader yesterday, won both games. They play the Indians tonight. I don't know. 9 games in, they're 4-5. you know, you use the whole thing like each game is really worth 3 games in a traditional season. But the way I look at it is the Reds are 3 games out of first place with 51 to go. So
yeah. Hey, this is what I saw all the projections for the teams that are going to win a division, and they're only like 6 to 7 to 8 games over 500.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and not like somebody's going to run
postseason.
Yeah.
16 team postseason too helps every team out a little bit.
I just don't think that it's going to be run away like it is in 162 games. You can spread out from your opponents in 162 games, but in 60 games, it's hard to get that distance. So I think it's going to be some good races. Now here's a question I'll pose to you all. Do you think Major League Baseball will finish the season?
That's a good question. Honestly, I feel like just within this week, it's been a whole thing about the Marlins shutting down and then the Phillies shutting down for a weekend because they played the Marlins. And, the Reds have had, I think, 3 players now this season have to go on the IL because of virus-like symptoms. So, I don't know. It's up to Manfred, but I think Manfred at the end of the day is going to do everything he can to not worry about it as much as he can.
I saw where the Cardinals had 13 test positive today.
Yeah, it looks grimmer by the day.
Here's what I think, man. I think that these professional teams are going to play it almost at any cost. They're going to try to play it. I think the NBA is obviously they haven't had any cases in July where they're in the bubble, Disney World bubble, which I saw some of them complaining about it, but I believe I could live with that Disney World bubble for a couple of years. But I think that's probably the best way to do it, but that's not realistic for many sports. They can get away with it, but a lot of sports can't. So, but I think even the colleges, the football, I think they're bound and determined to try to play it, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
All
I hope it works out.
Scott,
First of all, I'm going to have to go against Ben. The Reds, anytime it's hot, the Reds fold. And it's just now getting ready to get hot. And the only reason they won the last 2 games, they only played 7 innings. That means the relief pitchers didn't have to come to the
Yeah, we didn't have to go to our bullpen.
Yeah. So in real baseball, hell, they played Babe Ruth rules last night. So in real baseball, they're going to lose. It's the Reds. It's the curse of Dusty Baker. The guy that took them to the playoffs 3 times?
Yeah, I know.
And hadn't been there since 1991 or something like that.
You know where he's coaching now, don't you?
I don't care where he's at. Houston.
Yeah,
He's a cheater probably. But daggone, all my buddies, Jamie Russell and the Carney boys, fired Dusty. He's horrible. You can't fire good coaches without something bad happening.
Hey,
Kentucky got rid of Bear Bryant. It's taken us 100 years to be halfway decent, and COVID may cancel that. So the Reds are done. You might as well forget it. Now, on to my question, Coach Gumm.
Hey, let me throw something here on that Dusty Baker. Your boy, Coach Young, Troy Young, he's a big Reds fan.
Yes.
I can remember he used to say, "Hey, we got that manager, Krusty Baker."
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't like him either.
He's a winner.
What's your question, Coach?
All right, Coach. First of all, here's my intro to coaching from Coach Gumm. I'm fortunate enough to get a job at Taylor County back in 1991. Female principal who does not like sports very well is my principal, and I was a football coach and a basketball coach. So I do the right thing. I walk over to the gym. Coach comes over there. I say, Coach, tell me what you want me to do, man. I'll do whatever you want me to do at the middle school. Scott, I just need teaching the fundamentals, teaching the basics, blah, 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 blah. But the most important thing I want you to do is teach them to play man-to-man defense. I need these boys tough. When they get up here, they need to know how to play man-to-man defense. Yes, sir, Coach. So every day, we spent 20 minutes doing a shell drill. Ball me, man. Somebody drives, help side take a charge. Gosh, we did it forever. First game, I go over to high school boy, cheer on my cards. Coach Gumm, they're out there in that tough man-to-man, sticky Cardinal D. 2 trips down the floor playing man. We gave up wide open damn shots. I look over there. There's Gumm. Looked like Richard Gatewood. 2-3, damn it. 2-3. Man, I'm down here working hard. I don't know. With 2-3, I should be working on that.
Yeah,
Coach,
somehow
my question is
coming up, Frankie.
Yeah. My question, Coach, is this. Your love for golf.
Mm-hmm.
where did that come from? I mean, I've heard you talk about other things when you were young. Where did it come from?
I never played golf till I was about 32, 35 years old. Like I said, when I grew up, we played football, basketball, and baseball. We didn't play golf, like that. We played the big three, I guess. Then. But I was coaching basketball at Taylor County, and it's no secret I had a couple bad years there. And I didn't take it very well either, man. I was sick. So I go to a doctor down in Greensburg, my old doctor, Dr. Cheatham. Y'all remember Cheatham from Paul probably knows him from over there at Dare County.
Yeah. And
he was my doctor. And he did all these x-rays and stuff like that. And I had an ulcer, 2, 3, whatever. I don't know how many I had. But he said, what do you do to relieve stress? I said, I coach basketball. He said, well, that ain't working. He said, why don't you try to play golf? I said, golf? I never played golf in my life. I remember going to golf course with my dad, and every time he'd hit a bad shot, I had to go in the woods and find a ball for him. That's all I do. So it just so happens that Big Daddy, David Parsons, was my assistant coach. And I go back, and I said, that doctor wants me to start playing golf. I don't know how to play golf. So Big Daddy said, well, you're going to learn how. So I started playing golf with Big Daddy, and Coach Young was on the staff too. And of course, he played golf. And man, the first time I ever played was in a coaches scramble or coaches tournament, something over at Springfield, and I shot like 135. And we had a couple drinks and stuff. So it may be legitimate, may not be, but it was 100. And we just kept on playing and kept on playing. And the next thing you know, the more you play, the better you play. And and after a while, if you've got a little bit of talent, a little bit of ability, you learn to shoot a pretty good score.
And you got to have a little bit of drive to get better.
Well, you got to play, man. You got to play. You got to really desire to get better.
Paul, before your question, I don't know why Coach Gumm's crying about he had a couple bad teams. Hell, I sent him a power forward that we called Twinkie. I can't do no better than that.
Yeah. Hey, and let me tell you, nobody played harder than Twinkie, man.
Absolutely. He played hard.
He had every post move that we taught him, every move. You taught him, I taught him, and he would make all those moves. Then he'd go to shoot it, and the defense wouldn't even jump and block his shot. But he played hard, man. He really did.
Absolutely.
Well, last question for you, Coach, before we go. Talk about your and I know it was just a disappointing end to this past baseball season for you with COVID shutting us all down and all that good stuff, and it was hard on everybody. But talk about your seniors there and their last little they didn't get to play. I know you had a little celebration for them and all that, so just take a few minutes just to kind of talk about those guys.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned that, Paul. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, not senior year in sports. I mean, just think, being if you hadn't got to play your senior year in sports with your success you had in all the sports that you played. So, I just felt so bad for those guys, and I really thought, we were going to have a pretty good team. Looking forward to defending our district championship and our regional championship. We had, the old saying in baseball, if you're strong up the middle, you got a chance to win. Well, we had Dawson pitching, who was going to be one of the best in the region. Burton was a 4-year catch. We had our shortstop, our second back, and we had a center fielder. So we were strong up the middle. And we had some juniors that hadn't got to play that were ready to play. And we scrimmaged Central Hardin. We had a really good scrimmage, and we had some practices. We learned pretty quick that we weren't going to be able to just sit back and hit 3-run homers like we did the year before. So we really worked on bunting. We really worked on hitting runs and put a lot of emphasis on defense. And I was looking forward to the season. And who knows how you explain what happened, man. I mean, who would ever thought it was tough baseball season? And those guys handled it well. I mean, they realized, I talked to each of them individually, and then I talked to them as a group, and they realized it was out of our hands. There was nothing anybody could do. Just like today, I mean, they're talking about playing high school sports, but they're going to meet again on August 20th before they open everything up on the 24th. So who knows what's going to happen, man. And it was just unfortunate, and I hate it for the guys. And like I said, there were some really good players, and I'll tell you, especially Dawson Cole. Bird did a stat sheet for all the school records and stuff like that, and Dawson Cole was in in the top 3 or 4 in multiple different categories. And, with a good senior year, I mean, he could have been one of the best we've had record-wise at Taylor County. And of course, those guys are going on to play college. I think Dawson's going to Campbellsville. I think Bert's going to Lindsay. Brett's going to Lindsay. And a couple of the other guys. Ethan's going to play golf at Transy, I believe. So they're going to move on. That's the thing about what I'll tell you about young players, coaching young players. I finally realized this is that, as coaches, man, we take that loss pretty hard, and sometimes we don't get over real quick. But these 17, 18-year-old guys, man, they can bounce back real fast. Yeah. They get over it, and they move on and move forward. Yeah. So I wish those guys nothing but the best, man. They were really good kids.
Yeah, it was just an unfortunate situation for everybody. In softball, softball players, and track. We had Trey Good in there in track. Who could set some records and didn't get to defend the state championship. Ryan Maynard, would have put another banner in the gym as a state champion. So, just unfortunate for all those guys.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right. Well, Alex, time's about up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's about right.
All right. Well, Coach Gumm, we certainly thank you for joining us on the Hatcher Auto Fab Four podcast. Best of luck in your golf game moving forward, and best of luck in the baseball season coming up this spring. And hopefully everything gets back to normal and we can get back on the diamond. And also got a nice big turf field coming your way. Hopefully be done by Christmas time. So some exciting times in Taylor County.
Hey, let me say a couple things about that turf field. The board members and Mr. Higdon, and especially the community, the way the community has stepped up, and I look forward to them getting them. They about got the football field done, looks like, and they're going to start on baseball and softball next. Look forward to that. Like I said, I appreciate everything you do as AD, Paul. I know what that job's all about, buddy. Always something like going on. And I want to tell you, thanks for having me on. I was going to tell you this, boys. If y'all got some money out of hackers, y'all must be doing a heck of a job on this show.
Hey, they were begging to sponsor us. We're going worldwide. They need to get the name out there. They're going to start shipping cars everywhere. So, the Fab Four was their first venture into sponsorship. So, and obviously, we'll take more sponsors. So if anybody else wants to get on board with the Fab Four, just give me or Alex Williams or Scott Franklin a call or Ben, and we'll tell you what our prices are, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I'm getting ready to get out of here. I got to go watch my granddaughter play soccer tonight.
It's Trace Creek time.
Hey, I don't know about any kind of social distance, but in the last game I went to, there was about 1,000 people out there.
Wear your mask, Coach, and stay safe.
No mask at the park.
Alec, who we got next week?
Well, that is to be determined. We got to finalize that after this show. We'll have it out.
Find out today.
All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching the Fab Four podcast brought to you by Hatcher's Auto Sales. Everybody have a great evening.